So my name is Nadia, and I graduated from the University of Aberdeen in 2014.
Very interesting. So, what motivated you to pursue a Master of Engineering in Chemical Engineering at the University of Aberdeen?
So for me, I was born and brought up in Aberdeen. So Aberdeen is home, even though I'm now based out here in Dubai. But for me, I think I didn't really think about the decision. I wanted to study chemical engineering, and Aberdeen University had a great reputation. It's known as the oil and gas hub of Europe and had a good industry focus within the curriculum as well. So that's kind of why I chose Aberdeen, and also plus point I got to stay at home, so it made it much easier during the kind of tough period of the
Mhm.
studies. And I think for me, studying engineering, it gave me that kind of technical foundation, which kind of allowed me to then use strategic thinking and that problem solving skills in my career as well.
Yeah, very interesting. And the next question is, during your early years at Chevron and Petrofac, you engaged in hands-on technical and operational work. What skills from these roles have stayed with you as you've taken on more strategic responsibilities?
Oh, good question. um, so I think for me, it would be that kind of critical thinking, and also that ability now to kind of break down more complex information, and kind of break it down into more bite-sized chunks, and communicate that more clearly. So I think kind of having those hands-on roles at the beginning of my career, it kind of gave me the skills to develop a slightly stronger approach to how I manage things, how I manage projects, and it really gave me that discipline, which I kind of utilize in my day-to-day job, and it allowed me to kind of prioritize being accurate and clear, especially now with my role in marketing and communications. That really helps communicate what we need to, in a clear and concise way.
Yeah, very interesting. And you've grown within Petrofac from engineering to business development and now into a senior marketing leadership role. What have been the defining moments in that journey?
So it's been quite a journey. So as you mentioned, from engineering. So I actually joined Petrofac 10 years ago as a process engineer graduate. And from there on, kind of just due to circumstances and looking for other opportunities to kind of expand my skill set, and my interests, I moved into business development and then ultimately into marketing. So I think for me, the role it's very impactful. I enjoy kind of leading, and having an impact through the campaigns that we run in marketing. Obviously, communications is a big part of keeping our employees engaged, keeping our audiences both externally and internally like informed of what's going on in the company. So I think, yeah, the journey's been not the easiest, but it's definitely given me room to grow. I think I've grown a lot professionally. Also personally, I've learned a whole new set of skills, which I wouldn't have been able to learn if I had stayed just in engineering. And yeah, I look forward to continuing that journey in marketing now.
Yeah. Well, talking about communication, as someone who sports global teams, how do you tailor communication strategies for different regional and cultural audiences?
Good question. So I think for me, the first thing we have to do is kind of identify that local audience. We always kind of do a research to look into, the local insights, what works for that certain region, but in terms of what channels we should use to communicate our message. Also keeping in mind kind of the different cultural nuances, as well, that would be associated with the region. And then once we've kind of done our research on those levels, then we start to kind of tailor, okay, how can we then now deliver our messaging? What's the right channel to use? What's the right language to use? So we'll find sometimes in some of the regions we operate in that English might not be the language that we use predominantly. Sometimes our communication can be in Arabic, for example. So I think it's just always keeping these things in mind, doing your research, and then I think just making sure that your brand values are aligned with whatever you're developing, and maintaining that kind of clear messaging across everything that we do. So adapting it for the local region, yes, but at the same time, making sure that the messaging is aligning with our framework and our kind of guidelines that we have in place.
Yeah, very interesting. And in your current role, how do you align Petrofac's marketing and communication efforts with business development strategies in core and growth markets?
So again, a lot of this comes back down to maintaining kind of that relationship firstly with the business development team. So always keeping up to date with what's going on the business development side of things. What's their strategy? What markets are we focusing on? Who are we targeting? So it very much depends on the direction that they want to go in. So we work kind of hand in hand with the BD team to understand their requirements. And then based on that, we'll develop kind of any campaigns that are required to support their business priorities. And that can range from, developing campaigns to highlight either a certain project that's been successful, or even if it's just showcasing our expertise, showcasing what it is that we as a company can offer, the services we deliver. So it just ranges, and again, very dependent on what the business requirement is and what their strategic priorities are.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And what role do industry events and thought leadership initiatives play in your broader communication goals? And how do you position Petrofac's people as subject matter experts?
So yeah, no, they definitely play a very important role. So we're always looking for opportunities to position our senior leadership and our kind of subject matter experts at forums such as ADIPEC is a big one that we do out here in Abu Dhabi. So that happens every year in November. And then we have other industry events like Global Offshore Wind, etc., that we also attend. So we're always looking at opportunities where we can leverage our, people and kind of, put that messaging out there, highlight our expertise, our kind of thought leadership content, whether it's through, speaking opportunities, panel sessions that they can attend and participate on, or even if it's any articles that we can write and get into certain publications. So it does play a big part of how we get our messaging out. And our people are the best way to do it. So we're always looking for opportunities to, reinforce our credibility as a company through using our leadership and experts.
That's very good. Now, looking at the industry that you work in, the energy industry is evolving rapidly and with more emphasis on sustainability and digitalization. How have these shifts influenced your marketing approach?
Yeah, so I think definitely since I've been in the role, almost 6 years now, I've seen a noticeable change as well in how we're communicating. And now, obviously, we're very conscious of making sure we're kind of integrating the kind of sustainability narratives and messaging into our communications. So to align with, I think, both, what the expectation is from the industry now of obtaining these objectives, and then also our own goals as a company. So we have our own set goals as well for sustainability that we, are working towards achieving. So we do always integrate kind of that messaging where necessary into our communications. And I think the second part of your question was on the digitalization.
Mhm.
So again, I think even in the last 6 years that I've been in this role, we're noticing a big shift, like especially now it's all towards AI and how we can use AI to improve how we work. And I think definitely growing with the times, expanding kind of our digital footprint is very important. So I think we have made changes, even with how we communicate. We've tried using, more interactive kind of webinar platforms for certain regions and for certain requirements. We do a lot of our town halls virtually now. So that's also a great tool, especially when you're trying to target, the global audience, all our employees. It's a great tool to use. And then again, with social media running our campaigns, we're very much, targeting our campaigns, our content. And I think another part of that is, about kind of the measurement side of it as well, trying to understand what sort of content works and what doesn't. And we've kind of in the background been, we are always looking at kind of more tools that we can use, which are, backed by data. So we can track, what sort of content works internally and externally, so what's resonating with our audiences. And then we can do more of that and less of the stuff that maybe doesn't land so well. So yeah, and then, always tracking and adopting, I think digital trends to enhance everything that we're doing is very important. And it's something that we're always looking out for.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting and very important nowadays. Now,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, looking back at your career, what are the achievements you're most proud of?
That's so I think for me definitely do that the change from going from engineering
Mhm.
to where I am now. I think that journey as a whole, I'm quite proud of it. I think I'm proud of where I am right now in my career. And I think it's very, it's difficult sometimes, especially when you're kind of pursuing something you're not familiar with. I think imposter syndrome, definitely I've experienced that. I still sometimes experience it, especially because, if I look academically, my degree is something completely different to what I do now. But I think, yeah, no, I think generally as a whole, I'm proud of my journey. There's been some kind of key moments
Mhm.
that I think do resonate more with me. But I think, yeah, I'm happy with where I'm at now, and I don't think I would change it. It has shaped me into kind of the sort of marketer that I am today,
Mhm.
and it shaped me as a person as well. So yeah, I think I'd say I'm kind of proud of the journey as a whole.
Yeah, that's very good. And also looking back at your time at the University of Aberdeen, what are your fondest memories of the university or of the city?
So I still visit the city. So my family is still there. So usually every summer we pack up and we escape the Dubai heat, and we spend most of summer back home. So I don't really miss much of the city because I do get to come back every year. But I think with the university, you know, there's many things. I think just to be young again and to be in that phase of my life, it was just, I really enjoyed it. I had a great group of friends within my course. Generally, our kind of cohort for that year was, it was great. We all kind of got on. We had a lot of fun. So I have a lot of memories. And I'm still in touch with quite a few of the people I did go to university with. And yeah, I think it's a great uni, and I'm sure it still is. And I think I will try and pay a visit again this year when I'm in Aberdeen. It's been a few years, and try and see if I can catch anyone.
That's very good to hear. And is there any books or podcasts you would be able to recommend to students or other professionals looking to get into the career you're in?
Um, Books, honestly, I've not read any books when it comes to this, but I will say is if you're looking at a career in marketing communications, um, I think it's not necessary to have the kind of qualifications as long as you have that drive and you have that motivation. I think I would say, do it, take the risk. When I first made that decision 6 years ago, I was very much, will I like it? Will I not? I've always been kind of very technical, very analytical, hence why I studied engineering. I loved reading books when it came, but don't ask me to analyze or write essays on novels. So now, especially now as I'm writing a lot of content, it's not something I would have thought, if you'd asked me back then, I'd be like, no way, never. So I think rather than books and podcasts, there are some great courses out there. I think with marketing and communications, it's one of those fields where you learn a lot on the job as well. So if you do get into it, you'll actually learn a lot along the way. And mentorship is very important. I've had a few great mentors along my journey, thanks to whom, I am sitting where I am today. I've learned a lot from them, and I've also done a few courses along the way. I'm still doing courses. I think it's, learning is always continuous. You always need to upskill. You need to keep, up to date with what's happening in the industry that you're working in. So I think rather than books and podcasts, there's a few good resources that you can use. Hootsuite is great. They've got a couple of great marketing courses. LinkedIn Learning, if you have access to that, that's also another good resource where you can kind of start getting to grasp with the basics. And then, and if you really find yourself enjoying it, then as you develop, I think it's always good to, take your career into your own hands. And kind of drive that development yourself by doing courses that you think will upskill what you need at the time.
That's very interesting. I'm sure our students would benefit from looking at those resources. Now, my last question is, what advice would you give to other professionals with technical backgrounds who are considering a transition into marketing or communications role?
So I think I've accidentally covered that in the previous question, but I would definitely say if you're on the fence, do it. I think it's a very personal choice, but if you're thinking no, I want to try it, like definitely, why not? It might work, it might not work, but you'll never know until you try. So I think if you're on the fence, do your research. If you can land a good opportunity, and like I said, look out for mentors to help you along that journey. And again, research, there's many courses out there, many platforms that will support you. So I definitely say, you should take that risk and try it.